Good evening, Board Chair Morris Rowe, Superintendent Olson, and members of the board. Thank you for having me tonight. Our 33rd annual 5th grade Martin Luther King celebration, thank you, was a success again this year. Thank you to those of you who attended our celebration on January 11th. As it has been tradition, over 900 5th grade students in our district were charged with the task of writing an essay about Martin Luther King Jr.'s impact on our world today. The focus was to increase students' awareness of the role and impact of Martin Luther King's life on our country. Of all the entries, one student was selected from each building to read their essay at our event, and 2 were chosen for first and second place. I am elated to have them here with us tonight. Our second place winner was Emma Martin from Dalton Elementary School. I encourage you to listen to Emma's message and writing strengths. Her strong vocabulary blew us away. Emma's essay, titled "I Have a Dream," exudes her maturity and intelligence. Please join me in welcoming our second place winner, Emma Martin.
I was having so much fun. It had only been 3 days, but it felt like I had already seen all of Argentina. How were there possibly any more things worth doing, restaurants worth eating at, or sights worth seeing? I decided to go and grab a bite to eat at a cafe. While I was there, I saw a woman standing by a sign marked Shoe Drive. She was collecting shoes for the shoeless children of Argentina, which was almost all of them. When I left the cafe, I started noticing tons of people, especially kids, who had no shoes. I felt badly, and I wanted to do something. But I was on vacation. I had promised myself, no business on vacation. So I took that thought and I tucked it in the back of my brain. But when I got home, I couldn't keep that thought from coming out. A moment like this planted the seed that grew into the successful business, Tom's. Blake Mykowski is the owner of Tom's Shoes, where change isn't a dream, it's a reality. Blake Mykowski created the shoe business Tom's that benefits Argentinian children who have no shoes. For every pair of shoes sold here in the U.S., Blake donates another pair to a child whose feet are suffering. You may be thinking, children without shoes? I go barefoot all the time. Why is this such a big deal? Well, these children are not barefoot by choice. The small amount of money that their families make must go towards bills and moneylenders. Just imagine, having no shoes 24/7, horrible foot pain, bloody cuts with no remedies or bandages, pine needles, pointy rocks. Many children could not even go to school due to having no shoes, and some families with multiple children would have only one pair of small shoes that all the children must share. Blake Mykowski was probably not the first to try to put an end to this, but he was most likely one of the first to succeed, and he couldn't have done it without his generosity and creativity. Blake might be one of the most generous people ever. He's a businessman, and business is not always a very truthful or forgiving industry, but Blake showcases generosity nicely. Did you know that Blake flies out to Argentina to personally deliver shoes? And if you have worked at Tom's for 2 years, Blake shows his gratitude by letting you join him on his next trip to Argentina, and you too get to help deliver shoes. Lots of people thought Blake was the exact opposite of generous because of this thought. Why didn't you just open a charity? Blake says he knows charities help lots of causes, but the cause he was fighting for was so big that a charity just wouldn't help. So he let his creativity step in and opened his successful business, Tom's. Knowing this about Blake, I would happily wear a pair of Tom's any day. Just like Blake Mykowski had a dream that all children will one day have shoes, I have a dream too, a dream that could change the world. My dream is to end child abuse. I shouldn't have to persuade you into thinking that child abuse is wrong. The point is that it is wrong, and it shouldn't be happening. Abuse means to repeatedly hurt someone as punishment, in anger, or simply out of spite. Did you know that 5 to 6 children die every day because of child abuse? And 2 out of those 5 to 6 children are not even old enough to be in kindergarten yet. You may think that child abuse is just an exaggeration and not a big deal, but abuse is 100% illegal. The law states that all adults should care for and protect children, even if they are not their own. One of the saddest things about this is that most of the people abusing these kids are not their mom's friend or their sister's boyfriend, but their parents themselves. Most kids typically don't talk about their experience being abused because they're afraid. These kids need help, and no matter how young or old you are, you can make a difference. It's hard to put yourself in these kids' shoes, and hopefully we'll never end up in them. But that doesn't mean that you can't fight for these kids too, or for any other topic that you believe in. The images of greatness that came before us changed the world. and they have passed that task on to us. So are you going to take on that task and change the world too?
Amazing job, Emma. Thank you. Our first place essayist was Zach Linford from Skyway Elementary School. You might recognize his last name because his brother was one of our top 2 essayists at this time last year. So a lot of good writing in the Linford blood. Zach stood out to us from the competition because of his unique perspective in his essay. We encourage you to listen to Zach's creativity and thoughtfulness as he shares with you this evening. You will be blown away. Please join me in welcoming our first place winner, Zach Linford.
Sitting on my marble throne listening to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. give a courageous speech to thousands of people causes me to reflect on where we have come since the bloody battlefields of the Civil War. His words echo my own words spoken over 100 years earlier, that those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. Why have people not learned this lesson? Freedom. Everyone there wanted one thing: freedom. From my steps, I heard Dr. King preach a hope for equality, that my 4 children one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I heard the roar of approval for his words and hoped that men had finally realized that all deserve freedom through equality. From where I sit in my memorial overlooking the National Mall, I see progress has been made, but I also see the need for continued improvement. First, people need to be more optimistic rather than pessimistic. And this means that when you meet someone or see someone, always think the best of that person. The woman on the street who has a different skin color than you could be the researcher who discovers the cure for cancer. The most ragged beggar could be a decorated veteran who served our country valiantly. Next, have the courage to talk to people who are different than you. Try your best to find things you have in common. When you understand what people believe, it makes it easier to understand their behavior. Also, when you show another person with respect and kindness, they're more likely to treat you with respect and kindness. Finally, make the time and effort to volunteer in your community. When you work beside someone to improve lives, you cannot help but improve relationships as well. As you work towards a common goal, you will see how much better life can be when you work together than when we fight and argue. I will remain a statue for years to come. What changes will I witness? Will this finally be the generation that understands that you are never truly free until everyone is equal? Thank you.
Thank you again to Zach and Emma, and thank you very much for your support of this program over the years. I appreciate it.